All right. Hello, everybody. We are starting off our lunch hour with financial survival skills. So we are so excited to have you join us. As we let some people start to roll in, I see the viewer count going up here. I just want to do some introductions and some housekeeping. So, first things first, thank you again for joining us with your lunch for our virtual Lunch and Learn series. Today's program is Financial Survival Skills, and we are partnering with Canvas Credit Union. My name is Sophie Matthews, and I am an Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement at the CSU Alumni Association. And I'm going to be on today, even though I'm not on screen for the full program, helping manage comments, questions, technological concerns, anything like that. I will be on. So if you have any problems, just let me know. Before I introduce our next speaker, though, I do want to go over some quick housekeeping. We are running this event on YouTube, and we'd love for you to ask questions or comment on the material as we go. But we know that this can be kind of a different learning curve to those of us who are used to Zoom. So, in order to post a question or a comment, you are going to be using the comment section, kind of similar to a chat, but just right below this window here. Um, in order to post one, you do need to have either a Gmail account or a YouTube account. Now, if you don't have one, that's totally fine. We have a workaround. If you can't comment here with one of the accounts, you can feel free to email any questions directly to me. I'm going to put my email in the comments as well as it's on the screen right here. So, any questions as we go, I'll be keeping an eye on my email and I can type them in and put them up here for you. Um, but comments, great, we've got that handled. For starters now, let's do some practice. If you are able to log into the comments section, please put where you are watching from today, and if you're an alum, what year you graduated. So I will start. My name is Sophie. I'm from the class of 2022, and I'm watching directly from CSU Fort Collins. So I am in the stadium right now in the Smith Alumni Center. While these comments and these practices are rolling through, I'd love to thank our CSU Alumni Association members who are watching today. Your support through membership means the world to us and makes a huge difference in our CSU community and makes programs and resources like this possible. Thank you again for your support. Okay, well, now I am going to kick it off to Nancy Patton from Canvas Credit Union, who will be our speaker today.
Thanks, Sophie. So I'm actually also in Fort Collins, although not on campus today. And I am an alum. However, I'm a little embarrassed to admit how long ago that was. But yes, I graduated in 1982. So I have a degree in horticulture, which I'm using to teach about financial survival skills. I'll let you all figure that one out. We really do thank you for joining us to talk about this today. We're going to take the approach that we're covering tactics that you can use before, during, and after you experience a financial challenge. So, really, I think almost everybody knows that we're going to have a financial challenge. And we're used to seeing stories about crisis situations that make great stories. They make good, wonderful books, wonderful movies. There's some examples on the screen, but Swiss Family Robinson, Castaway, Apollo 13. I threw in Gilligan's Island for a smile. Unbroken, The Long Walk, The Revenant, Shackleton's Polar Expeditions. There are just a few of those astounding, maybe amusing stories of resilience in the face of a challenge. And although our situations probably won't be as dramatic as being stranded on a tropical island or lost in outer space, the fact is that our challenges are painful and tough. Some of the common things that throw us into a financial crisis are some kind of economic turndown, a personal thing like divorce, a job loss. We've just seen a natural disaster. It could be a death in the family, a medical diagnosis. And after the last few years, we can add pandemic to the list of things that might throw us into a financial challenge. Now, some of those things affect only one person or one household. Others may affect a geographic area or an entire nation or the world. And sometimes the situations we face are very unique. The suggestions that we're going to talk about today, they may work best, some of them for an individual situation. Others are going to apply if it's a whole geographic region or nation that's experiencing the trouble. And sometimes with those larger scale events, there might be special programs that would be available that wouldn't be available in an individual circumstance. But just know, probably we're all going to face a challenge. And what exactly that looks like is going to be unique and different. So let's just set the stage for how we're going to talk about this. We're going to cover the skills and tools and mental health that go with being in the crisis, and then how to set yourself up for the future and a way to handle a future crisis in a better way. So we're going to talk about skills, we're going to talk about tools, and then we're going to talk about mental health related to being in the crisis, and then how we can handle those things in a better way to be prepared for the future. So we'll start with being in it. You're living it out, and it's not great. Maybe you didn't have a chance to prepare as well as you would have liked. Maybe the crisis came on top of another crisis. Maybe you didn't think it would ever happen to you. But regardless of how we got here, let's look at the actions we're going to take to get through the situation. Regardless of how we got here, you're going to need to look for ways to increase income, cut spending, some combination of both. Did you know that paying bills is a skill? Think about how you had to learn how to do that. Now, because of the crisis you're in, it's possible there's going to be a change in who's going to pay the bills or how they're going to get paid. And if you aren't familiar with current expenses, take an inventory of what you have coming due and when. Use your account records from the last few months to make a list of what gets paid, when it gets paid, how it's going to be paid, and approximately how much it is. One of the techniques is to plot them on a calendar. So you put in your paydays on the calendar and see which paychecks are going to cover that expense. Now, if your income is stopped, you're going to have to be looking at how you're going to pay the next round of bills. We suggest you start with savings before you move to anything like a loan on your credit card or asking a family member to borrow money. But having that big picture look of what's coming up, when is it, how much is it? And then generating income is a skill. So if your income's been interrupted by crisis, you may need to raise money quickly. Is there a temporary job you can pick up? You could maybe sign up with a temp agency. Can you sell something to raise money? I've been known to donate plasma. And right now you can do things just like Googling side hustle jobs, and you'll find lots of different posts and websites about extra ways to earn smaller amounts of income. As you apply your research skills to this job income searching, don't forget to use your research skills to locate community assistance. This is the time when we want to take advantage of the food bank. You can ask if your utility provider has a fund to help people in need. Those options are here for precisely these kinds of situations. Your employer may have an employee assistance program, and there's a national number, 211. You can call 211, and you should be connected to the United Way in your area, who will have a list of lots of different kinds of resources. So let's talk for a minute about the skills you want to use related to your loans when you're in a financial crisis. The first thing really is to talk to your lender as soon as possible. The loan might be able to be deferred. might be modified, refinanced. There's different ways lenders have to help you get through a challenge when you're struggling to pay a loan. And virtually every lender has some kind of program, some kind of option that they can help you with. Now, in normal times, it's brilliant to pay extra on your loans, but this is a time in crisis where maybe you just want to switch back and make the minimum payments. You're going to want to do everything possible to continue paying loans on time. And I might add, especially if you have a rent or mortgage payment, making those on time, continuing to the best of your ability is going to help you a lot. Let's talk about the skills you can employ to save on your food expenses. I mean, groceries are expensive. And I bet you've heard most of these ideas, but here's some refresher tips for saving money related to your food budget. Many of us have refined these skills during previous challenges. They're great to have in place all the time, but you're really going to need them if you're in a financial crisis. One of the best ways to save money and reduce waste is by planning your meals ahead, having a shopping list that you stick to. A lot of people are saying that when you order online, you're not as tempted to make impulse purchases in the store. And it forces you to plan your menus and have a list. So for a lot of people, shopping online for their groceries has been a real saver on both waste and money. You can go a step further and plan your meals around what the weekly sale items are. I don't know if you knew this, but most grocery stores post new weekly sales on Wednesdays. And if you just go to their app, you'll see the savings for that week. And of course, I hope you know that when you buy produce in season, it's going to be cheaper, plus it'll taste better. Another trick is that if you have room in a pantry or a freezer, to try to buy extras when those basics are on sale, something that's not going to spoil, something that you know you're going to use. You can avoid spending too much by avoiding small packages, things like bottled water, small bags of chips, individual serving packets of anything. Those things always cost more than the bigger item. And then just the opposite applies sometimes when we are thinking about bulk items from one of the big warehouse stores. Maybe the price is so close to the smaller item that you don't want to take up all that space or risk wasting it. Or maybe it's not even a deal. And don't forget that if you primarily shop at one store, be sure to join their loyalty program. This is going to get you special coupons, deals, rewards, discounts, probably a gasoline discount. All different ways you can save just related to food budgets. Here's another way you can apply your skills on saving money. And we still want to have fun when we're in a financial crisis, a challenge, but we're going to look for ways that costs less. A lot of us had to apply this back in the pandemic because if you remember, entertainment options were limited or closed. So libraries have amazing special items you can access for free. This might be passes. Local libraries will have passes to places like zoos, museums, national or state parks, botanic gardens, just so many great places. Don't forget that many trails, parks, open spaces, these are free. I actually listed cemeteries because a lot of people go bird watching in cemeteries. Some joggers prefer that quiet setting, and it can be sort of a history lesson. So depending on who you are, you might find it fascinating to go explore for free at a local cemetery. If you're going to pay for entertainment, we're going to look for coupons. We're going to look for passes. We're going to look for discounted times to do this. Seeing a matinee, eating out at breakfast or lunch, even happy hour. Those are cheaper times than going prime time. And a huge thing that we're seeing people review and look for ways to save money is subscriptions. It's so easy to just have signed up for something and forget that it's automatically being paid, not realize that we're not using it. So make sure you review your subscriptions and evaluate that. Another way to save is by doing some kind of event at home, a game night, a puzzle night, inviting friends. Everybody brings a snack so that you're not hosting expensive food. These ideas are all related to food and entertainment, but they're just ways to use your saving skills when you're experiencing a financial challenge. And we'll actually keep talking about a few more of those skills coming up. We've talked about skills. Let's talk about tools we can use when we are in a crisis. If you have savings, this is why you have savings. You've set aside this money for exactly this kind of situation. So if you can keep adding to savings, that's wonderful, but you might need to stop or limit how much is going into the account and start taking money out to use to help you. A budget is another really powerful tool. If you have a budget in place, you're going to be able to analyze what action steps you need to take. And if you need to create a budget really quickly, I believe we're providing a short video about how to create a budget. We have those links. We've done budgeting videos as part of the CSU alumni series before. Another tool that is tied to this budget concept is just tracking your spending. And the beauty of this is that you know what your money's doing. And especially if you're doing this ahead of time, before a crisis hits, now you know where you stand. You know you can take action on specific things because you don't have to take the time to sort out all that information before you can act. You'll already know what your money's doing. Another tool that you might consider is to use cash. Many people find it harder to spend cash than to use plastic. And maybe there's just the opposite situation. A tool that you might actually need to use in a crisis is to access the credit that you've set up. Might be a credit card, might be a line of credit, but something that you have access to that you can borrow money because of the situation you're in. And the interest rate on these products can be high, so we want to be sure we're using them wisely. Credit card advances, a cash advance on a credit card is very expensive. This should be avoided at all costs if you possibly can. The expense on these is very high. Another option is a loan from your retirement fund. And again, this is discouraged if at all possible. We're really going to say, have you implemented spending cuts, used your emergency savings? Have you talked to family? Have you looked for additional income? All of those things before dipping into credit solutions to cover your shortage. Your credit score is another tool that you have to the best of your ability. Keep making on-time loan payments. Don't max out your credit cards, again, if at all possible, because these things are going to keep your credit score strong. And here's another tool that you have available to you. It's your relationships. If you're fortunate to have family that can help you through this crisis, that's awesome. And it can save a lot of heartache, though, that you're very clear about what this family money assistance looks like. Is it a gift? Is it a loan? If it's a loan, how is repayment going to be handled? Just having very honest conversations, being very clear about how money is being handled within the family. But another relationship that can be helpful is if you have been with your bank or credit union for a long time, they may be able to suggest some programs that are available. They may be able to offer solutions you hadn't thought about. If you're comfortable going in and having that conversation, that can be a really valuable resource for you, those relationships that you've built with your financial institution. Here are a few more tools that we're talking about using during the crisis. We're going to look at that budget. We're going to look at every line item. We're going to analyze where you could cut expenses. We need clothes, but maybe we need to shop now at a thrift store. We can look for quick fixes like stopping those memberships or subscriptions. This was a pandemic one, going longer between haircuts. And then watching your utility costs. Many communities have times of day where electricity costs more. In Fort Collins, the peak hours cost 3 times more than off-peak. So you can do a little research and see if you're paying too much on your utility bills. Can you adjust how you're handling that, using your water, using your electricity, and save some money? There are some big ticket items that you can call and negotiate and talk about the pricing. Cell phones, insurance, internet costs, these are classics that you can have a conversation and see if there's a cheaper option available. Then you might need to do some bigger things depending on how long this challenge goes on. You might need to consider downsizing a vehicle, downsizing a home, canceling a vacation. These are hard decisions. It probably doesn't have to happen right at the beginning, but if this is hanging on for a while, is this a serious step that you need to consider? And then finally, if you're paying for storage somewhere, can you sell those things instead of paying for storage? Do you have a garage or a closet that's crammed full of stuff that you're not using? And just by putting some things up for sale might raise enough money to get you through until this crisis is over. Now, I know this part of the conversation about our mental health in a crisis is hard. We are going to talk about some very specific things you can do. And we understand, though, that this is tricky. We're supposed to stay calm when we might even believe that things are going to get better. But when we have to live day after day and do it without fear or frustration or impatience, that can be a real challenge. So many of the suggestions on how to get through your challenges involve having difficult conversations. It might be with family members, it might be with a lender, might be talking to your kids about why you can't go get that pizza tonight. Please know you're not alone. If your crisis is being shared by others, there's a chance that you can talk about it with them if it's something affecting a lot of people. Even if it's not affecting a lot of people in the moment, most of us have been through a financial challenge, and we'd be happy to be a source of encouragement for you. You can always talk with professionals about the emotions you're experiencing. But although we all face different and unique situations, most of us have been through this kind of financial challenge. And we'd be there for you. We'll listen. It can be hard to stay positive. There are going to be good times and bad times through the challenges, but here's a couple specific tips. Can you minimize the media that you're watching and the social media that you're doing? If there's a natural disaster, it just doesn't help to see that happening over and over again on the news. If you're on social media and you're struggling to pay your bills, you don't want to see about your friend's exotic vacation or their new car. Can you limit your exposure to some of those situations that are likely to challenge your positive outlook? On the opposite side, can you look for positive outlooks? There's a good news network that just has positive, uplifting stories. It's proven that being outside, sunshine, fresh air, give us new perspective to our discouragements, and especially, of course, if you add some kind of movement. And finally, I'd suggest that you be sure you know what your joy is. There are lots of different sources of joy for each of us. Might be a hobby, a friend, might be faith, music, exercise. What is your source of joy? Can you keep doing that? Can you find somebody to do it with you? Look for those sources of joy and find a way to keep doing that in the midst of your challenge. We're going to switch and talk about, okay, you made it through. Congratulations. The worst part's over. You can start to get it back on track. And then also let's consider, if you're not in crisis right now, but you just want to be prepared, you want to be thinking about how to be better set up to deal with a challenge. Let's look at things you can tweak or improve in your financial life, and we'll start with those skills. My slide is messed up. That's interesting. So we're going to look at things from a diversification and from a maximizing perspective. We're going to focus on these two skills: maximizing how interest works, and that includes getting the highest savings rates on accounts and paying low loan rates. So that might take a little research, might need a conversation with your banker, but look for those best rates so you're sure you're not paying too much, and make sure you're earning as much as possible. Banks and credit unions post their deposit rates on their websites, so it's really easy to compare. If I went to this account, I could earn this much. Looks like I need this much minimum deposit, but you'll find all that information on websites. If you had stopped saving money, please go back to saving money on a regular basis. You might be able to increase it even to set yourself up better for the future. And you had maybe stopped overpaying on loans, but go back to doing that, paying more than the minimum payment that's due. We really encourage you, just with all loans, to pay more than is the minimum required. And if you took on new debt in the crisis, now you're going to need a plan so you can pay that down and get rid of it. Maybe this will be a trigger for you to just evaluate your overall debt. What's all going on in my debt life, and can I get rid of it, reduce it, reschedule it so that it costs me less? Diversification is another skill that you can use, and a lot of people think about diversification related to investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but we can apply that in other areas too. So maybe you have too many investments that are similar. Are they all in one company, or are they all in one kind of company? All in the stock market. You don't have any real estate or cash. So mix up the kinds of investments you have. And then keep some cash at home. So this, especially if you're going to have trouble accessing money in an emergency, it can be nice to just have a little bit of cash around to be able to get you through a couple days of challenge. And then we also encourage having cash reserves, both in readily accessed accounts and in some higher earning accounts, but that might mean you can't get to them as quickly. So another way to think about this diversification is related to income. If you have two people in your household who are contributing income, do you both work at the same place, or do you both work in the same industry? We saw this a lot in the pandemic. If people were both in hospitality, they both worked at a restaurant, they probably both lost their job. If there's any way to consider having income from different sectors of the economy, so public and private jobs, working in healthcare and technology instead of both of you in healthcare, something like that, to mix up how your income can be diversified in your household. So that's diversification and maximizing. Let's talk about some tools. That emergency savings account is probably the most important tool you can have in place. And so if you think about tools we use around the house, we have different things. If we're going to tighten a screw or pull a nail or hang a picture, it's certainly much easier when you have the right tools. What you see on this slide, these are the right tools to have in place just going forward in your financial life. Best one, emergency savings. Anything is better than nothing, but your ultimate goal is 3 to 6 months of expenses. A good starting point is $1,000 or whatever your rent or your mortgage payment is. And honestly, the best way to build savings is to pay yourself first. That means that when money comes into your life, is at payday. On payday, you immediately move some of your money to savings. It helps if you set it up automatically. And then just it's something to think about to give you some concrete numbers. If you're paid biweekly and you set up a transfer of $46 every paycheck, you would have $1,200 in a year. So a very specific example of how to build an emergency fund by paying yourself first. Every time you get paid, move some money to savings. To cover a short, let's talk about budgets here. Really, just this is the other thing besides emergency savings that is critical to financial success. Knowing what your money's doing means that you are in control of it, you're comfortable with what's happening, and then tracking your spending gives you a picture of what real life is. And when a challenge hits, you know immediately what you could tweak, what still needs to be taken care of. How does this look? Then if the situation leading to your crisis made accessing money difficult, we are going to suggest keeping a little cash. The suggested amount is 3 days of spending money to have that in small bills at home. When you need to access money through a loan instead of your cash reserves, it helps to have these set up ahead of time, to have it in place before you need it. It might be a credit card that's available to you. It might be a line of credit. Regardless, you're going to want to try to find one that doesn't have a fee. And then the nice thing about both of these items is they tend to just be open. They stay available to you at no charge. So you can use them or not use them, but overdraft line of credit or another small personal line of credit and a credit card can help you with this. I've had my overdraft line of credit for at least 15 years. I don't think I've ever used it, but it's there if I would need it. There's no cost for it. So a great source of emergency funds if needed. In the meantime, it doesn't cost you anything to have that as a backup. If you think you might need bigger dollar figures, now we're talking like a home equity line of credit, and you're going to really want to do some research about fees, about how you access the money, how long the loan is in place. So that one's a little bigger research project for you. And then, of course, it's always a good idea to have a good credit score. There's lots of information out there about how to make sure you keep a good credit score. It is helpful for auto insurance costs, utility deposits, cell phone approvals, apartment rentals, and of course, loans. Really helpful in all of your financial life to have a good credit score. And then I mentioned banking relationships. Being able to talk to somebody and say, hey, do you have something new? I've got a little deposit that's come in. I'd like to have it grow. What do you recommend? Having a good relationship with your bank or credit union is a really good tool to have. All right. Again, some tools we're going to add so that you're more prepared for the future. Account and password information is one of the tools that you use if you are the person paying the bills. But you kind of need to make sure multiple people know how to do that if there are multiple people in your household or multiple people affected by paying these bills. And then another common issue that comes up is, where are the insurance policies? Does everybody know how to get to the insurance policy, see what's in it? Do you have that in an app on your phone? Do you have it in a file somewhere? But everybody needs to know how to pay bills, where the insurance policies are, and how to get to that information. And related to insurance, have you ever done an insurance inventory? This is where you take your camera, your cell phone camera, and circle around the room, recording everything that's in the room. Don't forget the garage. And so that you have an inventory, a video inventory of the things that are in your home in case you need to file an insurance claim. Depending on your stage of life, it might be time to have a will. It is strongly encouraged that you have a medical power of attorney, regardless of your family situation, your age. Strongly encouraged to, there are lots of easy ways, free ways. Talk to your doctor, talk to your healthcare system, find out how to get a medical power of attorney in place. And then, depending on your situation, wills, estate plans, this is also a really important tool. If your financial challenge costs you off guard, most of them do, right? You may want to consider building an emergency kit, a grab and go backpack that you have with some supplies in it. You'll see a couple of resources on the screen where you can research what they suggest to have in this grab and go emergency kit. But it's just one more thing to help you be prepared for surprises that might come your way financially. And then let's just chat for a minute about this mental health thing and setting ourselves up for success with that. One of the things that happens in crisis can be that you discover you handle money and you feel your emotions about money differently than others in the household. So especially if you're in a relationship, you're both contributing to household expenses, and you discovered that you have very different approaches and emotions, it can be helpful to take a money personality quiz. There's a bunch of these online, and it'll be a talking point, a starting conversation. And maybe you can nail down some questions about, well, what would I do if this situation, or how do you feel about that? Those conversations can be really interesting and really helpful for your financial future. We're going to suggest that you actually celebrate. If you made it through this crisis, it doesn't have to be a trip to Paris, but it can be something special. Is it dinner out? Is it a small party you throw for friends? But celebrate the fact that you made it through this. And then all the things we can possibly do to set ourselves up physically, mentally, emotionally, financially for positive health. It could be nutrition. You can see some examples on the screen: exercise, sleep, being a lifelong learner. We talked for a minute about those things that bring you joy. Is it dance? Is it movement? Is it travel? It's such a personal thing about how these pieces all fit together. But the more we can be well-rounded in our physical, mental, spiritual, financial well-being, the better we can get through a crisis when it comes. As I said, almost everybody experiences this. If you're in it right now, I'm sorry. I hope you're hopeful that you'll come through better on the other side. I hope that the things we've talked about can be some very specific skills to get you through a crisis and to get you to the next step, to be more prepared for the future. I've mentioned a lot of different things depending on your situation, where you are in your financial life at the moment. You may have a lot of these in place. You may have very few of them in place. But I'm going to encourage you to take some step. And if you're in a more advanced place, maybe it's maximizing those earnings, finding the best place to put your savings, maybe developing that line of credit that could be in place for the future. But really basic steps to set yourself up for financial success are to add to savings, track your spending, and act your wage, which is act your wages, live within your means. Oh, Matt, thank you so much for submitting that question. We get that a lot. And in general, the advice from multiple financial experts is to simultaneously be paying down debt and building savings. And the reason they say that is that if you're so focused on paying down the debt that you don't have savings, then when something goes wrong, you're right back to putting all that stuff on the card, right back to being increasing debt. So we strongly encourage people to be doing both. We know that everyone is different and that some people want to be extremely focused on getting rid of that debt so they can sleep at night. That's fine. In general, a balanced approach, building savings and paying down debt is the recommendation. Thanks for submitting the question. Those are the things that we were going to share today. Happy to hang on for a minute and see. 50, 20, 50, 30, 20. Thank you. Another fabulous question. The 50, 30, 20 rule. Okay, I'm being just very honest in my sharing my opinions here. The 50, 30, 20 rule is very challenging in our current housing market. The 50, 30, 20 rule is that 50% of your spending should be on needs. I have to have a place to live. I have to eat. I have to have a winter coat. What are my needs? 50% on needs. 30% on wants. I want to take in that concert. I want to have a new phone. And the 20% is supposed to be savings and reducing debt. So again, I'm just being very honest. It is very challenging given our housing market in 2025 to keep your needs at 50%. So I understand the concept here. I support the concept. We always have to take care of our needs first. Wants should be the last thing that we're looking at. I'm going to strongly suggest savings. I'd like to see at least 10% in savings. Different people have different approaches on that, but basically, if you can at least be saving 10%, that's going to take you to a strong place. But thank you for bringing up 50, 30, 20. Y'all are welcome to do your research and see, but that rule came out, or that suggestion came out at a time when housing costs were not so steep.
Nancy, I'm going to hop in for this one because it's a little too long to fit all on the screen here. So I want to read the full one for you.
Sure.
So it says, from email, I joined late. Sorry if you already covered this, but with the current climate, I am worried about a financial crisis. I feel lucky to feel financially stable right now, but what can I do to ensure I continue feeling this way in preparation of this crisis? I don't want another 2008.
Yep. Yeah. Great. Thank you for sharing. Well, it's everything that was in the last half of the slide deck. But really, do you know exactly where your money's going right now? And are you okay with it? If you're tracking your spending, and I'm sorry, don't tell anybody, okay? But I'm not a fan of budget. The word drives me crazy because that's a plan, and plans never work. But if you track your spending, you're forced to look at what you're spending money on right now. And you are forced to acknowledge, I'm okay with this or I'm not okay with this. And if you're tracking your spending, you're forced to look at the fact that I have $10 left over. I spent 25 more than I have. I have $100 left over. I don't know what you're going to find, but when you track spending, you know exactly what your money's doing. And then you can come up with a plan. And I'm always going to say the best way to prepare for any financial emergency is to have emergency savings, to have cash set aside. The next best thing probably is related to credit. Have as little debt as you can, have as good a credit score as you can, and have some kind of credit available to you, whether it's a credit card, a line of credit. I'm a huge fan of these lines of credit. At Canvas, the line of credit is an overdraft on your checking account. It's free, it never goes away, and it's just there if you need to dip into it. If you don't need to dip into it, great. And it's building credit for you as well. So having these resources you can go to, a credit resource you can go to, a savings resource you can go to, having a great credit score, knowing where your money's going so that you can react if you need to. Those are all the best ones. Oh, missing a credit card payment. You're going to lose some points on your credit score. And on a credit card payment missed, they have the ability, you'll immediately have a late fee, and they have the ability to raise your interest rate. So if you had been in a credit card at 15% and you miss a card payment, they have the right, you'd have to read all your fine print on your credit card disclosures, but they have the right to raise your interest rate. So that can really affect things. If you could at all make the minimum payment on time. The credit scoring system doesn't care if you pay in full. We care from a financial wellness standpoint if you pay in full, because it means you're not going to pay interest. But the credit scoring system and the fee structure just wants to know that you made the minimum payment on time. So that's the best. Okay, so I hope that helped. I love these questions. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. High yield savings accounts a scam. Depends on where you read about it, see it. Sorry, I'm not a fan of TikTok. You can call me old, you can call me out of touch. I'm not a fan of TikTok. High yield savings accounts, though, at this point in time are probably available virtually everywhere. All of your credit unions, all of your banks, all of your reputable online banks are going to have some kind of high yield savings account. And we're talking 4-ish% right now. But you need to trust the source. And if they're saying that it's higher than 4 or 5%, then it might be a scam. At this market rate right now, this is July 2025. Market rates change all the time. So you need to do your research on that. If you are looking for a high yield savings account, I would start by looking online. Look at local banks and credit unions. You can research that just from their website and see what they've got. Is it a CD? At Canvas right now, it's a short-term CD. It's a 7-month CD, not a long-term one. We also have something called a reverse tier account, paying 5% on the first chunk of money. You need to go to the websites, look at their savings accounts, look at the rules that go with it. But that will give you a feel for what current market rates are. And if you're seeing something advertised that's way out of line, that might be a scam. You guys have the best questions. I love it.
Okay, well, we're at about 10 minutes left. So if you have any other questions, feel free to either email me pretty quickly over here or type it into the comment section below. But while we're just chatting, I just want to pop Nancy's follow-up email. Nancy, if this isn't the right link or you'd prefer your direct email, let me know. But this is the Canvas appointment portal. So you're more than welcome to pop on here if you have any questions or anything like that.
Yeah, that would probably take you to a specific branch.
Okay, we'll throw a different one on there.
And I'm wondering if You could go ahead and do financial education at Canvas. I hope I
Perfect.
have that right. um, if not, you have Sophie's email and she can
Yes.
find me. I'm afraid to put my email into the chat, knowing that people watch this in the future.
Well, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or you want any follow-up or want to meet, even if you want to meet with somebody else at Canvas, we can get you paired with the right person to chat through
Yeah.
your questions. But it doesn't look like we have any other questions, and it does look like the view count is dropping down here. So we'll go ahead and just close out today. But if you have any other questions, again, feel free to email me and I can get you connected. Um, Thank you again for joining us. I hope you learned a lot and enjoyed some delicious lunch. And if you're watching afterwards, these resources still apply to you and these offers to connect still apply to you. So don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to go over anything again, listen to what Nancy said one more time, anything like that, as soon as we end this, you can just refresh the page and it'll actually be fully live right away or fully recorded right away. We will also send out the link to watch this in the email right afterwards. So thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful day and go Rams.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Sophie.